it's Mundo Monday, and this week we're going to read some tales and tales about some big, scary beasts that aren't so scary after all. Last summer we did a whole video about how every culture has stories that express the universal fear of being eaten by a wild animal. These stories are so common that people sometimes think of certain animals as automatic bad guys.
You mean like the big bad wolf?
Exactly. But wolves aren't really all bad. If they were, humans would never have domesticated them into pets. And now dogs are considered humans' best friends. Wild wolves, too, despite their reputation, never go out of their way to hurt a person, who isn't hurting them at least. In fact, some have been known to help people. Native American cultures have always emphasized the importance of respecting nature in their stories. Sure, nature can be dangerous, but it can also be wise if you take the time to pay attention and listen.
Like in this book, The Girl and the Wolf by Katharina Vermette. Vermette is a Métis First Nations writer from Manitoba.
That's in Canada.
And she wrote this story when she realized, gee, things would have really gone differently for Little Red Riding Hood if she'd met a wolf from out of the native story she knew instead of the wolf in the story. Let's see how different indeed. The Girl and the Wolf. Words by Katharina Vermette. Pictures by Julie Flett. The girl ran through the bush while her mother picked berries. She was helping, but mostly running. Don't go too far, her mother called. It's going to be dark soon. Okay, the girl said, but kept running. Suddenly the girl looked up and couldn't see her mother anymore. She panicked and looked one way, but didn't see her. She tried to calm down and look the other way, but still couldn't see her. Everything got quiet and dark. The girl felt cold and scared. She didn't know what to do. What would you do if you were lost in the woods? Out from between the trees, a tall gray wolf with big white teeth appeared. The girl was very still. "What are you doing out here by yourself?" asked the wolf. "I lost my mother," she said. "I can't see my way back." "You must be scared, little one," said the wolf in a quiet voice. "Yes, I am," the girl told him. "Do you know the way back?" he asked. The girl shook her head. The wolf came up close and sniffed her. Now that's how wolves learn about people and dogs. His wolf breath was hot and stank of meat. "I think I know where you come from, little one," said the wolf. "But it is almost dark. You must be hungry." "Yes, I am." The girl nodded and her stomach rumbled. "Do you know how to hunt?" asked the wolf. The girl shook her head. "What are you going to do?" asked the wolf. The girl looked around. Everything was quieter and darker. The girl felt very cold and very scared. "I don't know," she said sadly. "Yes, you do," the wolf told her. "Take a deep breath. Close your eyes, then look. What do you see?" The girl did what he said, and when she opened her eyes, she saw something that made her feel better. "I can eat those berries. They're safe to eat. The ones by the stream where the water is safe to drink." She pointed. "That's good, little one," said the wolf. "Let's go." The girl drank in gulps and ate 2 handfuls of berries. "Now what are you going to do?" asked the wolf. The girl looked around. Everything was still quiet, pretty dark. "I don't know," she said sadly. Yes, you do, the wolf told her. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Then look. What do you see? The girl did what he said, and when she opened her eyes, she saw something that made her feel better. The skinny trees over there! That's where we camped, the girl said with a big grin. The gray wolf nodded and smiled at her with his big white teeth. The girl started walking, but was really running. She ran to the air that smelled like her family. She laughed out loud and looked to her side, but she did not see the gray wolf anywhere. She looked one way, but didn't see him. She looked the other way, but still couldn't see him. Just then, her mother appeared with her basket full of berries. "Oh, my girl," her mother cried, "I told you not to go far." "Mama, I was lost and a wolf helped me," the girl told her. Her mother was surprised. "A wolf?" "Yes," the girl said. "He was big and gray. At first I thought he was going to hurt me." Her mother smiled. "Real wolves can hurt people, but I've heard old stories about wolves who help lost children, too." The girl smiled. She was glad the wolf had been the helping kind. When they returned to their camp, the girl told everyone about her big adventure and her special wolf. That night she tied tobacco in red cloth and left it at the bush's edge, because she didn't know a better way to say thank you. The end.
See, be quiet and listen, and you will learn from the great beasts of nature instead of being eaten up. People like scary stories, though, so scary animal stories are the ones that stick out. But the wisdom of seemingly scary animals is more common in stories than you might think. Think of lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Sure, lions are great hunters, but they're also the king of the beasts, ruling wisely and usually fairly. Bears are fierce, but they're fiercest to protect their young cubs. And people associate bears with hugs. And tigers. Well, tigers are an important symbol in Korea. They're kind of like the Korean mascot. Tigers are all through Korean stories.
Like in this year's Newbery Medal winner, When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller. In that book, Lily learns lots of tiger stories from her Korean grandmother. And yes, the tigers are dangerous, but they're also wise and magical and can grant wishes.
Exactly! You don't want to get on the bad side of a mythical Korean tiger. But on the other hand, if you respectfully listen...
I've got a perfect story for that, too. Tiny Feet Between the Mountains, written and illustrated by Hannah Cha. Once upon a time, in a large village between two tall mountains, there was a small child. Her name was Soen, which means tiny person. When others took 2 steps, she needed to take 4. 1 handful for others meant 3 armfuls for Soen. But this never stopped her. The people in Soen's village often competed to see who was the strongest and the loudest. They even boasted that they were bigger and more fearless than the spirit tiger, rumored to protect the surrounding mountains and forest. Soen would study the other villagers and complete each task in her own way. How can someone so tiny keep up? The villagers would whisper to each other. But still, Soen refused to give up. One morning, the villagers woke up to find the sky was filled with thick black smoke and red embers. Thunder boomed and echoed between the mountains, and the sun was nowhere to be seen. The chieftain asked for a volunteer to go into the mountains and see what had made the sun disappear. The crowd was silent. When still no one spoke up, Soen took a deep breath and said, "Sir, I will go." Suddenly the villagers' voices rang out. "You can't even carry my pot! How can you bring back the sun? You'll be lost in those woods." Soen was startled by the outburst. Then she calmly folded up her sleeves and tightened her braid. The brave little girl knew she had to try. She ran home to pack her pink bujagi full of supplies for her journey. There she goes. One tiny person walking through those deep, dark woods. Soen knew she was close when she reached the part of the forest where the smoke was thickest, the hissing sparks were the hottest, and the thunder was the loudest. Suddenly, Soen stopped dead in her tracks. She couldn't believe her eyes. It was... What do you think she saw? The spirit tiger. Soen took a step back. She had only ever heard stories about the great spirit tiger. She noticed that heavy tears dripped from the tiger's eyes, and his fur was covered in crackling flames. Looking up, she dared to ask, "Great spirit tiger? What is the matter?"
"I am the great protector of the mountains and the forest, so I wanted to rule the sky too. I chased the sun with all my might, but when I opened my mouth to roar, I accidentally swallowed it. Now the sun is angry and trying to burn me from the inside," the tiger wheezed.
"Let me help you," Soen said.
He pulled away. "You are a mere tiny child. What can you do?"
The tiger sounded as doubtful as the villagers, but surely he was wrong about her. "I can help," she said. Soen took out the bottles from her bujagi. She sprinkled the water on his fur, but there were too many flames to put out. Remembering the river, she guided the tiger there. But when they got close, the flames on his fur dried up the water. Soen tried blanketing the fire with mud instead, but it was no use. Maybe the villagers and the spirit tiger are right. Maybe there is nothing I can do. Soen sighed sadly. I cannot keep up with the flames on the outside. But then Soen got an idea. She'd been so focused on what was happening on the outside that she'd forgotten the real problem was on the inside. "Spirit tiger, please hold still." Using her pink bujagi to protect her hands from the flames, Soen climbed up the tiger's tail and onto his back. She crawled through the angry, riled fur, using her tiny hands and feet to tickle the tiger. The spirit tiger began to shake with laughter until smoke filled his nose and achoo! Losing her footing, Soen began to fall, but the tiger caught her small body in his large paw, his eyes twinkling like stars. He roared with delight.
"I can't believe it! You did it! Thank you for your help!"
There's the sun up in the sky again.
"Come, let me bring you home."
Down in the village, Soen could see the people scrambling and yelling with fear at the sight of the spirit tiger. They suddenly looked very tiny. Soen climbed off the tiger and beckoned the villagers forward. One by one, they came out and listened to Soen's tale. When she was finished, Soen introduced the villagers to the spirit tiger. Celebration and cheering erupted as the spirit tiger kissed Soen on the head. He bestowed a blessing on her and the village before returning to the mountains and the forest. From that day forward, the villagers were kinder towards Soen, and she was known as the greatest of them all. The end.
So if you should meet a big, scary creature, don't panic. Be calm and listen. You might discover something as big and important as the sun.
Or that you yourself are more big and important than you might think.